It's been about 6 weeks since my last cross-stitch confession. Let's start taking bets on how long we think this one's gonna be. Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am here with a long overdue update. Yeah. It's been like a month and a half, give or take, since my last video. So I'm dusting off the cobwebs and trying to get over the rust that accumulates when you don't film for a long time. At least not face to face. Yeah, it's been a hot minute. Today is Thursday, March 8th, 2018, and I have approximately all of the things to talk to you about today. Lots of stitches, some books, some haul, some knits, some general chatter, all of the things. So many things. I have not one, but two to try to get me through, so I hope that you have something to drink as well. I also hope that you have some stitching to do. This could be a long one, so let's just make sure you're prepared. Go ahead, hit pause. I'll wait. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, all of the things. But before I get into anything, let's talk about where I've been. I can pretty much describe February in one word, and that is headache. It ranged from mild headache to I wonder if I'm really feeling anything or if I'm just making things up or if this is like a ghost of yesterday's headache, to 10 on the pain scale, migraine, put me in a dark hole, shut the door, kind of a thing. All month. I'm still in that zone of there might be something there, but I don't know for certain. I talked about it on Stitch Mania. Several people have reached out to me, and so thank you everybody for expressing your concern, and also for all of the various remedies that you or people you know have tried in the past. Migraine management is a thing. People suffer with migraines, and I am among them. And I am ineligible for preventatives at this point. So I know that several people mentioned various prescriptions that their neurologist has put them on, and Botox is a really common treatment. The problem with migraine preventatives and me is that I have neurally mediated hypotension, or neurally mediated syncope, which is the new terminology, and it just means that I pass out really easy. And the concern is that not enough research has been done to see what the effect of those neurological medicines might have. Botox is pretty much a no-no. It's like, that's never going to be a solution for me. But the others, and now I can't even think of the names, Imitrex, and, whatever. There's not enough research, and I really don't feel like being a guinea pig. Passing out is not fun. That on the verge of passing out is not fun, and so I'm kind of okay with the fact that my neurologist was like, no, sorry, you're not taking any of that. I'm not too bothered. I just have to go about some more homeopathic methods of keeping the migraines at bay. I know that several of you commented and let me know, I can't believe that you were able to stitch all month with a migraine, and I didn't stitch all month with a migraine, I assure you. I just, when it was a lower grade headache, I stitched to keep my sanity. You guys understand. Sometimes when life gets stressful, you stitch to try to manage the stress. And so when I could, I did. And I did a lot. Maybe more than I should have. But I did stitch quite a bit. So yeah. So this is not the medical hour. This is the cross stitch hour and a half, 2 hours. So let's go ahead and get into some things, huh? I don't have Q&A today. I was going to go back and pull all of that and then just sort of do everything today. But I just chose to not postpone this any longer. I keep finding reasons not to film. It's so hard to get back into when you take a break for a long time. It's just so much easier to be like, well, I could film or I could stitch. It's so much easier to choose stitching when it's been a while. And so just to keep things simple and not fast, like this is not going to be a quick video by any stretch of the imagination. The piles around me are evidence of that. But just to make things a little bit simpler and to not give myself another excuse to stop. We'll do Q&A next time. And if you have any questions, by all means, leave them in the comments below. We'll be more than happy to answer them next time. So let's get on with things. I don't even know what to do about this. So I have everything that I've worked on since January 24th. Everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if it was for the Winter Olympics Challenge, which I created a playlist of my vlogs for that, so you're more than welcome to check that out, of course. But I didn't want to like separate out the two, so I brought just absolutely everything that I worked on in the end of January, the month of February, and this first week of March. So there's quite a few things here. I worked on 9 projects in February. So yeah. I didn't put them in order because I've worked on things a few times between now and then. So we're just going to start from the top and work our way down. And the first thing is Carriage House Samplings, Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. And I have my Purple Spider and Edgar Allan Poe binder. And I've been working on block 1 since I started this last year. And this I only worked on for the Winter Olympics Challenge. And this is one of the ones that I really probably shouldn't have worked on because this is on 40 count country mocha. And 40 count and a headache of any variety is probably not the smartest plan. So I suffer from migraines and I'm stupid about it. What do you want? So anyway, so here is where I'm at. And I'm not going to insert a before because I can really just tell you I did the wording, do lie beneath, which still, for some reason, that makes me feel like I'm happy that I have those words in. I don't know what that is. And then I did some of the tower, that gray color. And that's really it. That's all I managed for about an hour and a half, give or take. So yeah, I want to get back to this. That's going to be a theme. But I'm not sure when that will be. I would like to really set a hard goal of getting at least that first block done this year, but I don't know if I can really do that. Okay, up next. All right, I'm just going to show it now. My brain is fighting with me showing you these out of order. I want to order them, but I really can't, so not. Okay, so at the end of the Winter Olympics Challenge, there was a prompt. No, I told Danny to random number generate or pick for me my next project to work on because basically what I was working on I wasn't feeling, and so I wanted something else. I wanted to freshen up, switch it up, change things. And so he picked a random number from my remaining whips for Year of Whips. And the one that he picked is the Flower of the Month series by Ellen Moore Stroh. So preview here of what this will look like finished, as well as what it looked like last time. I had the January Carnation block done, and the February violet block started. And so I worked on this for a couple of days, and this is on a 32 count Belfast in cream by Zweigart, and I got violet done. Now, my motivation for getting violet done is by and large spurred on by Elizabeth Douglas, and she's on FlossTube. And she was enabled by me to start this, and now she's totally kicking my butt. I started this in 2015, and here I am with just the February block done. But seeing that she had finished the violet, and so I was like, oh, that's really pretty. I want to do that too. And so when Denny randomly picked this one, I was like, that's really great. So I managed to get it done before the end of February, and I adore it. I absolutely love how it turned out. So there's that. Now, the font that I chose, it's a freebie. You Google, I think, backstitch fonts for cross stitch, and this is one of the ones that pulls up. And I did violets, in the darkest shade, which I think was 823, if memory serves. And I had to change the alphabet a little bit because it was a little weird. I didn't really like the S or the L. The L is supposed to be another stitch taller. So I just changed it up a little bit. The V is a little different too. So I changed things up a little bit, and it's more legible now, I think. So, really enjoying that. I get a kick every time I share about this. People go nuts. They're like, what is that? Where is it from? Who's the designer? Where do you buy that? Kind of a thing. It's a freebie series, y'all. Google Ellen Moore-Stroh freebie Flower of the Month series. I say this all the time. It will pop right up. For some reason, from the EMS website, it's harder to find. It's harder to locate through her website. But if you Google that directly, it will link you directly to the right page so that you can access these. And it's 12 flowers related to the months, and it's all free. The adding in the names was my sort of addendum to it because I don't flowers. And so, if and when I finish this and I frame it, and somebody comes over and they're like, oh, that's really pretty. What kind of flower is that? I'll be like, So I just wanted to make sure that I, put the names in there so that I can speak with knowledge years and years down the line. So I'm averaging 2 blocks every 3 years. Whew. It's terrible. It's so bad. But like I said, this is a Year of Whips piece this year, and I'm hoping to get another 3 blocks done. So 1 down, 3 to go. This was my 3rd Year of Whips finish, which is why it's really bugging me that it's so out of order, but you'll see the other 2 here in a little bit. So there's that. Okay. Next. Oh, my beloved. Next is Hortus Venenum by Chatelaine. And this I am doing on the provided kit fabric. It's a 28 count antique white cashel linen. I'm not going to insert a preview of what it looked like last time. I don't really feel like sorting through to find it. I did want to make sure and pull out my needle minder for this project because Christine at Stitch All the Things, hi Christine, I don't know if you watch, but she just recently started this and has now since enabled a couple of people. And the needle minder that she picked is the exact same as this one, except hers has a black butt. I was like, that's pretty cool. So I just wanted to bring that to show it. This I also worked on exclusively and begrudgingly for the Winter Olympics Challenge. And I worked on this several times. I'm trying to figure out what I did. I know that I did some of the specialty stitches, and I did some of the stitching out here. Actually, I might have done all of that. these sides. And then, let's see, these are rows with 3 strands of silk. There are some dense rows. Let me bring that in close so that maybe you can see them. You can kind of see them. They are interspersed in this pretty packed in spot. So there's some dense rows with 1 strand, and then there are some pulled open eyelets, Algerian eyelets with petite treasure braid. And so that's what I managed. Not near as much as I would like, but I had these delusions of grandeur that I was going to catch up to Angel, Girl with a Needle. No. No, that's not going to happen. So I can rest easy now. Like, I don't have to be wishing that I was working on this just for that purpose. I always wish that I was working on this. That's never going to change. This is extraordinary. And every time I'm working on it, I'm like sending up a thank you to Martina for the creative genius that she is and was. Unbelievable. So, there is my poison garden. Hortus venenum, I use the terms interchangeably. Okay, up next is something that I only work on 1 day a month, and it is on the 15th, I think. The 15th of each month is Stitch Mania's Work That Whip, or Whip That Whip, or pull out an old Stitch Mania piece and work on it for the day. And so the one that I pulled out is, and I will pull this out every single 15th of this year, is Donna Stitch's Beauty and the Beast. And this gorgeous jeweled rose minder from Juliet Nifty Needle Nannies. And this is also on 32 Count Belfast in Cream by Zweigart. No preview for this one either. Because really what I did this go round is I focused on the pale pink in the center of the rose. And by and large finished that up. There's still a little bit to do right in here, and there's obviously some around here. But a good little bit of it. I was out of the red, and so I just decided to focus on the pink for a little while. So there's that. And this will come out again for the 15th. I guess in a week. So I will show this in 2 weeks' time if I can get back on my schedule. Which is always the hope, right? Always the hope. Okay. Now we're going to make a little bit more sense. Not quite 100%, but a little bit more sense. So during the Winter Olympics is really when I was going through the brunt of the migraines and when the headache was the worst. Take a quick sip. And so working on 32 count linen, 25 count Lugano 1/1, kind of toeing the line. And so I thought, I've got to find something that with bigger holes that I can work on. And so most of you will know that I was working on Jim Shore's for Mill Hill Snowy Owl Snowman. And I thought that at first that this was gonna be bad news for my head, because perforated paper, it can make you dizzy. Your eyes tend to struggle with looking at the paper versus looking through the paper. The holes are really big. So I questioned whether it was going to work. A couple years ago, I had Be Thankful on 14 Count Fiddler's Ada, and that was a joy to stitch on when I was hurting, when my head was a mess, for lack of a better term. And so I contemplated starting something on Ada. I don't have any Ada. I don't have any Ada projects currently, but I thought about it. But I decided to try this first. And it worked. I was able to stitch on this for long periods of time, and once a lot of the stitching was filled in, then the trickery with my eyes wasn't such a big deal with the perforated paper. So I finished it. And at some point during all of this, you will have seen what this looked like the last you saw it. This is one of my smalls pieces for the Year of Whips challenge, and so it was good to work on this for an extended period of time and to get it done. All of the work put into it paid off with a finish at the end, and it's so cute. And it's so heavy. Like it's not a lightweight piece. There's a ton of beads. I'll try not to shake. Can you see all those beads? It's really bead heavy. I'm really shaky. I meant to weigh it before and after to weigh the difference between all of those beads, but there are 11 colors of beads, and yeah, quite the project. But I'm absolutely adore him. And now I want all of them. All of the Jim Shore for Mill Hill kits. I want them all. I'm not buying them because I'm trying to be really good with Stitch from Stash. I got really in the negative and had a hard time climbing out. Having a hard time climbing out, I should say. So I'm not going to get them yet. But it's good to know that like I like this aesthetic, I like this style, and I like the finished piece. So this is my first and only finish thus far in 2018. That's embarrassing. It's just not how I wanted 2018 to go. Just some perspective. At this point last year, I think I had 6 finishes. And this little guy is my only one. And I'm not even close, really, on anything else. So it's going to be partial finishes and mini victories from here for a while. Now look, last year I finished, 25 things? They were all kind of small. I mean, not all of them. There were a couple of big ones in there. A Haid, a Chatelaine, Mirabilia. So there were some large finishes. But, like, there were also most of my close to finished pieces brought out last year. And now kind of all I have left are BAPs. It's all big stuff. So it'll be okay. It'll be all right. Okay, another quick sip. Oh good, the sun's coming out. That's great. So, finished up the Snowy Owl Snowman February 22nd. I remember that for 2 reasons. That's Belinda's birthday and my grandma's birthday. Yeah. So, finished that up and I was feeling like really, I mean, it was finished object high. I'll be honest. That always feels so good to me. And so I was like, let's do that again. Let's focus on something else. I think that by working on the 14 count perforated paper, that sort of eased things a little bit. I think that I was maybe stressing out my eyes and my head too much trying to work on the linens and the 1/1s. I'm telling you, the whole month is headache, so everything is going to be the headache. Anyway, things had started to ease up a little bit near the end of Snowy Owl Snowman, and so I thought, all right, I'm going to try this. I'm going to pull out some more linen. I'm going to glutton for punishment. What do you want? And so, but I was going to pull out a light colored linen. In hindsight is 2020. It's a picture this plus linen, which always means it's a little bit tighter than 32 count. Anyway, So I pulled out Afternoon in New York by Country Cottage Needleworks because I thought, all right, I could work on this for the next 7 days until I finish it. That I can make that happen. If I just get through this brownstone, because I knew that that was going to be a struggle for me, if I can just get through that, I can do anything in this piece. There are some pretty heavy block one color stitching, but it's not quite that. So if I can get through that, no sweat. So I got through that and I quit. So preview here of what this looked like the last time you saw it. It would have been in my Year of Whips preview video or my Winter Olympics preview, but we'll go with it. And now I'm all tangled up. There we go. So here is where I am at. Now, not finished, not quite done. The fabric is 32 count Belfast in Ariel by Picture This Plus. And as you can see, I got the brownstone done. Things are a little bit warped because of the way this piece has to go into my millennium. It's not a perfect situation, and I am a tension snob, and so I ratchet up the tension. You get it. So if the brownstone looks like it might be the Leaning Tower of Pisa, it'll be fine. It'll stretch out, and when I finish this thing, who knows when, and lace it and frame it, then that won't be near as noticeable. So the brownstone is done in 100% hand dyes, and in particular, the actual facade of the building is done in Weeks Dye Works Mocha. Weeks Dye Works. Weeks Dye Works is beautiful, but boy does that stuff shred like it's getting paid to. I was going through a bunch of needles because I felt like if I used it for too long, then the complication with shredding the thread was even worse. And I use Peacemakers. They do not have burrs in the eyes. So it's not that. It's like wear and tear is what tears the thread. So I went through a bunch of needles. Just trying to stitch the darn brownstone. And so by the time, after 3 days, I was like, you know what? I need a break. I need a break. And so I gave myself a break. I put this down. I love this. I cannot wait to get a little bit further. I can't wait to get back to it so that I can put in some of the other things that are a lot more fun for me to stitch. I sound like I'm ragging on this design, and I'm absolutely not. Believe you me, it's a user issue. I don't like the long stretches of one color of a hand dyed. But the effect is pretty wonderful. It looks like a weathered brownstone. Although, a couple things we got to talk about. So, the way that this was charted, there's no stitching here. There's no stitching in the windows. So, we have to suspend disbelief and go, oh, okay. So, when you look directly into those windows, you're looking out the windows at the back of the house. Obviously, not the case. Not in a million years. The cab, however, those windows are filled in. It's the funniest thing. I'm looking at the chart and I'm like, wait a second. Cabs, you literally can look through one window and out the other. But not a brownstone. But yeah, those windows are filled in. I just thought that was funny. I mean, this whole design, don't get me wrong, it's just all a little bit whimsical. It's all a little bit, it's just fabulous. I just thought that was funny. So, there is that. And that's half of a bird sitting on a bench that's not there, in case anybody's wondering what that blob is. The little fire hydrant, I never thought that I would call a fire hydrant cute. Boy, does stitching change language a little bit. That is the cutest fire hydrant in the history. was funny. So there's that. I'll get back to this eventually. Okay. Yeah, this is where I wish I went in kind of chronological order. You know what? I wish that I filmed every week for the last 6 weeks because then I wouldn't have this issue. Anyway, so a couple of times during the month of February, I pulled out Snow Castle by Heaven and Earth Designs by Randall Spangler. This is my weekend piece. My Heaven and Earth Designs are my weekend pieces, and this in particular was for the second and third weekends. For the quarterly seasonal sales with the quarterly sales, with full coverage fanatics. So this is artwork by Randall Spangler, gorgeous snowflake needle minders, and a preview here of what this looked like last time. Although the progress, it's not really worthy of 6 days. Now this is one of the ones that I chose not to work on because of the headache, and so, oh good grief, I just folded up a disaster. I was like, I'm done, and just folded up an absolute mess here. So, like I said, the progress is not worthy of 6 days. It's barely worthy of a single day. I think I did a total of 1,500 stitches on this project. And so here's where we are. This is on the 25 count Lugana. It is the easy count from Zweigart. And so that's where we are. So you can see the top of the wizard guy's hat, and his sleeve has come more into view. You can definitely see that. I think this is kind of his face, and it's really hard to see because he's supposed to be like this smoke being sort of up there at the top. So it's not going to be like a really defined face. I'm not worried about it. You get the general idea of what that figure is, and the focus is definitely going to be down here. But I think that is his face in there. And if not, then it's his forehead at the very least. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. This qualifies for the quarterly, quarterly air and winter for the majority of March. Now, the quarterly seasonal sale switches over at the 21st when the calendar transitions into spring, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. But nonetheless, I'm working on it before that point, and so it will qualify for winter. So, there's that. Not too pleased with the progress there, but you're about to understand why. So, at the end of January, following my last video, I was working on Lady of the Flag through that Friday, and I don't remember what day that was that I filmed last. But I was working on Lady of the Flag through the end of that week, and then at the weekend I was pulling out In This Moment by Jeremiah Kettner for the Full Coverage Fanatics by the Number sale. That is a mouthful. And then I debated what I was going to work on next. Well, I chose to work on Lady of the Flag, and I'll talk about why here in a minute, that Monday, and eventually that Tuesday, and also I think Wednesday. And then Thursday, I decided to go back to In This Moment by Jeremiah Kettner, and I worked on it for 7 straight days, so well into the beginning of February. I threw out all of my plans for the beginning of February, and I went a little bit monogamous for a little bit, and I contemplated madness. I contemplated going completely monogamous. skipping every single other stitch along I had signed up for, every other event, and just working on this for the whole month. Well, that idea quickly died, and that's because I got the page finished. So I'm going to insert a preview here of what this looked like the last you saw it. I had the tiniest bit of page 2 started. Now, I worked on this for by the numbers, and it took a while to get back into it. I'm not going to lie, this is very different than Snow Castle. Snow Castle is by and large 3 colors. It stitches up so fast, and it's on the easy count. So the fabric is a little bit more open, and in this moment is not on that easy count fabric. It's on a standard Lugana, so the weave is a little bit tighter, and it's not pre-gridded, and there's a heck ton of confetti in this one. It's not Josephine Wall confetti. It's not Teresa Wensler confetti. It's not, it's not like that. But it is definitely busier than Snow Castle. And so that first weekend, it took a while to get into it. It took a while to get accustomed to stitching like this again. So I didn't quite accomplish much on that by the numbers weekend. And I was like, we'll see what I can do. And so I got the page finished. There in the first, I think, 7 days, up until the 7th, I believe, with in this moment. So here is what it will look like finished. And all of these fun minders. These are heavy. This project I nicknamed McKenna. So there's that. And 25 count cream Lugana. This piece is gargantuan. 525 by 529. So what is that dimension? 21 inches square. No big deal. 1/1 full cross. So here is where we are. I've also worked on this, and I use that term very lightly. Worked on. It's comical almost. This week. So this is where I'm at currently. This fabric smells funny. Fold up since I don't need all of that. So there's page 2. Super excited to have page 2 in. And it got into this little flower. This is the big one, actually. Minders are sticking together. Oh, no, it's not the big one. It is the little one. So that is getting into there. I think it was Lisa from Lisa's Stitching and Such who asked me if I was going to get into the hair in page 2. No, unfortunately, no. Gotta wait till page 3 for that, and that's still at the bottom corner for her hair. This piece is ginormous. But, oh, is that not gorgeous? This is fun to stitch. It's busy. There's a lot of colors going on. There's a lot of color changes because Jeremiah Kettner's style, he throws color kind of randomly sometimes. So there's like a purple blob in the midst of all of this yellow, and yellow blobs in the midst of all of this purple, and it's just kind of weird. But I had a blast stitching on this. I had some crazy stitching days because 1,000 stitches in a day is like 2,000 stitches if it's not confetti. And I did 1,100 stitches on this one day. Just craziness. But I got the page done. So I think that page took me combined 13 days, that's not bad. And then I gridded page 3 and then put this away. And I gave up on my monogamous February. I thought that it would be fun to do in February because February was such a short month. So I thought, well, worst comes to worst, I only have to, chew through 28 days as opposed to the last time I tried a monogamous month, it was March, which is 31 days. That's a lot. And shout out to everybody who's doing this monogamous March. That's the coolest thing. I tried it once and I bombed miserably. I did so bad. So anyway, so I contemplated working on this all of February, but finishing that page, I was like, you know what, I'm just done. And so I gridded page 8, which is what I'm working on now. And I worked on this for 2 days this week and managed 160 stitches. Did I do 160? Not even 160. It was pretty pathetic, but I was just done. By the time I got that, I thought that if I got this block done, this first 100 stitch block done, that I would find myself in a groove. I'm supposed to still be working on it today, but I'm not, obviously. Because I finished that block and I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, I'm just done. So this is supposed to get another 4 days this month, and I'll talk about my rotation this month here in just a minute. And so my new goal, my original goal for the month was 50% of the page, because originally it was supposed to have 8 days of effort. So 50%, I could do that. I'm trying to finish this page by the end of April. And I think it gets 9 days in April. So like that's pretty reasonable to get 8 days here in March and then finish it up in April. April's busy, but it was just a thought to set the goal at 50%. My new goal is 25%, and I don't think that I'm going to finish it in April because it's getting busier as the calendar fills up. So 25% by the end of this month equals to about 400 stitches a day for those additional 4 days. I hope I can do that. If I can do that, then I'll feel a little bit better. But I gotta tell you, my full coverage bug, kind of dead. Sorry, I'm looking at my stitches, and from this angle, they all look like really good. Perfect little bubbles. Yeah, I'm not feeling the full coverage right now. I don't feel the draw to it. I'm not shopping for it. I'm not looking at it. I'm just not feeling the full coverage right now. I know why that is. And it's a certain lady who has got my fullest attentions right now. And it also has to do with this need to finish. I need finishes. I used to think that I was a process stitcher, and maybe I still am, but like I genuinely, I start a project for the enjoyment of the project, but I have to get finishes to strive me on, and these partial finishes, these page finishes are like, it's like you're starving and somebody offered you an appetizer, like finger food. Like you're at a wedding and you're starving because you just sat through a very long wedding that was drawn out because they wrote their own vows. But, like I'm telling this whole story. And then you go to the reception and dinner won't be served for another 3 hours. But would you like an appetizer? Would you like an hors d'oeuvre? And it's this big. No, you cannot take 2. Like, that's what mini finishes feel like to me right now. I'm starving. I want dinner. I don't want your bacon wrapped scallop. So, I don't know what that was. Don't mind me. So yeah, so that is probably why I am not feeling the full coverage stitching, because I can't get a finish out of them right now. I can't get a finish. I can get partial finishes, the other issue is the absolutely extraordinary size of this particular piece. It's so big. So I finished page 2 and I crossed the 5% complete mark. 5%. After 2 pages, after almost 16,000 stitches, 5%. So, and this is my oldest Haid. So like, it's just a lot right now. I need to work on it. The only way I'm ever going to get done is if I work on it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens for those 4 days. I'm still kind of optimistic that I can reach at least the 25% mark. Hopefully I can get myself in the mood. Let's talk about my lady. I saved her for last on purpose because she really is the only thing I want to work on, except for what I'm currently working on. So I'm not working on her right now. Now, I've done a lot since you last saw her. So I will insert a preview of what that looked like the last time you saw her. This is, of course, Lady of the Flag by Mirabilia, aka She's a Foxy Lady, aka Lady of Gratitude Sal. Feel free to jump in on all of the social medias if you so choose. So I've worked on her a total of, I want to say 28 days now, total. And the last you saw her, I wasn't quite finished with the skin. I wasn't quite done with the skin. And I didn't finish it in that week. That was my goal for January, was to finish the skin in the week, or in the month. And I didn't quite finish it in that week. So that's why it came back out for the last few days of January, so that I could see that goal accomplished. And then I have talked about this ad nauseum, but I want to get the top half of Lady of the Flag done by the end of April. And so I had 3 months, February, March, and April, and I had effectively 6 rows of 10 by 10 blocks, 6 rows before the bottom of the page. And so I was like, well, that's easy math. Divide by 3. And so 2 rows of 100 stitch blocks. Now, it's a lot of stitching because it's 170 stitches wide by 200. So, or excuse me, 20. So 170 by 20, I mean, we're looking at 3,400 stitches, but of course it's not that severe. It's not 3,400 solid stitches a month. It's, you know, there's empty blocks and there's blocks with stitches already in and there's beads and, you know, etc. So my goal for March was the middle chunk. And here today on the 8th of March, I'm almost done. Like I'm 2 stitches away from achieving that goal in March. So I've worked on this a lot. So you will have already seen what that is going to look, what it looked like last time. I'm just so enjoying this project. The reason that I'm not working on it now, even though I want to, is that I'm a little bit concerned about burnout. Gosh, you guys, I tell you what, you know me, I get obsessed with things and I work really hard and I abandon all other things in my life. My dog doesn't get as much attention. My husband doesn't get as much attention. I get behind on my TV shows. I get antisocial and I stop showering. Like, I get obsessive. And I don't want to get to that because I still have a ton of work left to do here. I'm only just barely above the top half, barely above that line. So there's a lot of work left to do, so I don't want to burn out. So I'm making myself take breaks. So 32 count Belfast in Vintage Blue Whisper, and I'm just gonna scan up here so that you can see what she looks like now. So this is about what you guys saw last time. Da, 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 da. Isn't she pretty? I always have a hard time with this piece because most mirabilias, it doesn't matter where you're from, you can appreciate it. But this is really American. Like, it's kind of particular. Um, and I've thought about, like, I wish that there was a way to convert this flag for everybody. I wish that everybody could find a way to stitch it themselves, but the whole thing is just really American. Um, so, I mean, what can I say? What words can I possibly have? There's absolutely zero backstitch in here. This is all achieved with Nora's knowledge of color. Why does that look like I could, like, tuck my finger into that fold? It looks like I could, like, grab that. It looks like I could run my finger through these folds and, like, feel the fabric of the flag in between. And not only that, but it looks like satin. Like, it looks like, it doesn't look like a cotton fabric. It looks like luxurious, soft, shiny. It's just DMC. It is cotton. Like, but it doesn't look like that. She's unbelievable. So I worked on this for the first, I think, I worked on this for like 7 straight days. Because I'm me and I get obsessive. And I thought that the hardest part, and I'm not entirely wrong, but I thought that the hardest part of this block in particular, which stops about here, a little bit above that, this row, actually, this yellow section right here, that is the line. That is the goal line for March. So cut that across. Now here's, anyway, let me go back to this thought and then I'll come back to the other one. I thought that this was going to be the hardest part because it is a large section of 712, which is very pale butter yellow. And I was right. It is really the hardest part because 712, I mean, the palest shades always, you got to get them to lay right. You got to make sure your hands are clean. But I think it turned out pretty darn good. Okay, so here's kind of how I do things. So, like I said, that chunk of yellow there, that is the goal line. So this brown here, this darkest brown here, let's say I start stitching right there. I get down here to my goal line, and I've still got a bunch of thread on my needle. Well, I'm not going to cut the thing off. I'm just going to keep going. And so that's really why some of these even pass into the bottom half. These two right there pass into the bottom half. And I contemplated parking them, but I didn't really want to get the threads all in my way. The thing about this is that I'm constantly flipping to the back. I mean, it's just a part of the process. So, but with Heaven and Earth Designs, I don't flip to the back so much, so I don't have to deal with that thread management as much. So I just would tie off and then use that color elsewhere. But I would, so like this darkest red here, let's say I finished up all of the darkest red over here, and I still had a bunch on my needle, then I would just go ahead and stitch it, because why not? April's going to be busy. I don't know if I said that already. I probably did. And so a leg up on getting my top half goal achieved in April, it's good. She's beautiful. She's so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to work on her again. Can't wait. So, let me talk about what I'm currently working on, and then I'll talk about my rotation for March. Okay, so let's sort of lean into what I'm currently working on. I was heavily influenced by Sammy J Stitches, who, like, if we lived in the same zip code, we'd be best friends. And I'm sorry, Sammy, but you wouldn't have a choice in the matter. I just really dig watching her videos and her updates, and she just very quickly become one of my favorites. Definitely a must watch. So I was heavily influenced. And last month in February, she participated in the Everyday Counts event in the Ultimate Cross Stitch group. And this is sort of it's an edited version of a challenge that they've been running since inception. And it used to be every member counts. And so at the beginning of the month, they would look at the number of people in the group, and they would go, okay, we have 2,567 people in the group, so you need to stitch 2,567 stitches in this month. A stitch for every member. It's kind of cute. But the group has grown quite a bit, and so people are having a harder time trying to reach that goal. I don't know how many people are in the group now, but it's north of 3,000. So they have changed it to where they divide the total number up into much more chewable chunks, and it's not an exact number of the number of members in the group. But it ranges from 50 to, I think, 150 stitches. So, but it's every day. It's broken up into every day. And so you can either do the full total amount, or you can do this each day, reach the mini goal. So last month in February, Sammy J did this with her Birthstone Dragons, and she did it by the days. So the first said 50 stitches, so she did 50 stitches and put it away. And then, etc. throughout the month. By the end of the month, she finished it. Now, I can't remember exactly where she was at the start of the month, but I was like, I want to finish Birthstone Dragons. I want to do that. And then I thought, it might be kind of good. You work on it just a little bit every day. And progressively things will move along. So I was doing that. And I had to play catch up a few times. I would do a couple days and then take a break for a couple days and then catch up. And we're only at the 8th. So I guess this has only happened like twice. So earlier this week, I was working on In This Moment. I'm not feeling it. Excuse me. I was not feeling the In This Moment. And so I had to pull out Birthstone Dragons to play catch up. And then I kept going. And I'm behind again because I've decided I'm not going to count backstitches because this is backstitch heavy and I hate counting backstitch. It makes me dizzy. So I've worked on it a lot, but it's not like a ton of stitching accomplished. And I may just work on it until it's done, because that's just kind of how I'm feeling these days. So let me go ahead and show you where I'm at. First of all, a preview of where it was last time. This would have been in January, of course. I was part the way through September's Sapphire Dragon, and I have now all but finished that dragon, as well as worked on some of the border, and I put in some of my details. So let me fix something real quick. So I blinked this out, and I'm just kind of zhuzhing something because it gets a little wonky, especially when I flip it around. You can see I'm kind of rolled up. I've tried to keep it simple, but add some bling to this. And I talked about August Peridot Dragon quite a few times because I was concerned about how to make it work. I have made it work, and I think that I'm going to stick with it. So let's just go ahead and flip everybody all around. And So here we are. Grab the stack and set it on. So, you can see this red Michaela, and then Chaos said, she was like, I thought that was licorice. No, I hate licorice. But those are beads. I'm just gonna, those are beads that I strung, and then I couched them so that it kind of goes where I want it to, and so it looks like a long string of beads. And then, like I said, September's sapphire is almost complete. All I have to do is add in the crystal. I went and got the crystals this morning, so I'm going to do that here when I sit down to stitch this afternoon. And the border I've carried down, and so I'm just about caught up on the border. I still have a little bit to do over here. I left this thread hanging because I wasn't convinced that I was keeping the necklace. I was afraid that it looked a little tacky, that it looked a little over the top. Because, like I said, I wanted to add some bling, but I didn't want it to be okay, so there's the way that Brittany originally designed it, Ingleside Imaginarium. And then there's Katie, the Stash Queen, who has blinged the hell out of hers. She's got all kinds of gems and crystals on hers. And then there's me kind of somewhere in the middle. So I didn't want to overstretch. You know, everybody else has really just got their gemstone, with the exception of April, who's got that. And I mean, they've all kind of got their own thing going on. I just didn't want this to be where your eye is immediately drawn. And if it's too blinged out, then that is what will happen. So I left this thread up here in case I needed to rip it all out. But I think I'm going to leave it because I think that it achieves what I wanted it to. It is based on a Quetzalcoatl, which is an Aztec legend. And Aztec colors, you know, they are rich, they are vibrant, they are strong primary colors and secondary colors. So if you Google a Quetzalcoatl, you will, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, so forgive me if I'm not, you will find that they are largely green, gold, red, and even bright blue, which he's got in his eye. So it's all kind of the right colors. So that's why I wanted the red necklace. And I wanted it to be super long. I don't really like how this is. I think I might have couched it too far, so it's not quite rounded. I'll have to play with that a little bit. I wanted to make the necklace super long, first of all, so that it could reach the gemstone that I had attached horizontally to his tail, like the stitched version was originally. And so I wanted it to make sense. But I also sort of envisioned, like, if he's flying around, it's dangling a lot. It's like a long chain. So that it's out of his way. So that's kind of the thought process behind making it a little bit longer. So now I got started work on October, and I decided to go with the tourmaline version. Although based on my gemstones, I'm kind of regretting that decision. Turns out my gemstones that I got, they don't have a tourmaline alternative. It's just the opal. But I'm just going to give it the opal, and I'm still going to stitch the tourmaline version because I like it. It's pretty. I didn't want this and June to be too matchy-matchy, and I was afraid that opal was a little too pale pink like June was, like the pearl was. So I'm just going to go with it. And then, so I got started working on that, and I'm out of 603. Like, I have 0 603 in my house. I went through a lot of my projects to see if I had any hanging around. I've got none, like 0 603. So last night I sit down to stitch, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna bother with that. I'll just come over here and start working on November. Topaz. So I get started, And I need 743, so I get up to try to find some 743. I have 0. I'm like, oh gosh. Now my DMC storage, my DMC stash is, it's a disaster right now. I have some work to do with it. But I just thought that it was uncanny that I couldn't find any 743 or any 603. So I put it down and I didn't stitch last night until I went and grabbed those colors today. So there's that. By the way, my fabric here is a 32 count Belfast in Sparkling Diamonds by Crafty Kitten Fabrics. It was an exclusive for her Birthstone mystery boxes a couple years ago. And so that's where my dragons stay. So I'm contemplating just tossing out any sort of a rotation. Like, to hell with the rotation. I'm just going to kind of work on what I want. And what I want is a finish. I'm a little apprehensive about that only because I picked this for that everyday counts. And so I kind of wanted to stick with that. But I'm really feeling this finishing. I just need it. I just need the finishes. I've said this a few times, so I don't need to say it again. But that's kind of where we are now. Okay, let's talk about my rotation. I sort of turned my rotation on its head here in March. So originally I had my Heaven and Earth designs on the weekends, and then my other things in the 4 days in between the weekends. So, for instance, this week is technically supposed to be Lady of the Flag week, but instead it's technically In This Moment week. And the reason that I tossed my rotation on its head is that last year I did Mirabilia March Madness, and I worked on Mirabilias a lot. And I sort of came to the conclusion that I kind of wanted to incorporate that in here this year. But the only way that it was going to work is that Lady of the Flag was only going to get 4 days. And what I found in January and February is that I really needed more than the 4 days to reach my goal. And so then I thought, well, I could give Lady of the Flag 2 4-day chunks here in March. But I don't know. I mean, then what about my other mirrors? I mean, I have 9 mirrors going. It's a crazy amount. So I'm not going to get to many of them. And then I thought, well, you're supposed to be focused on Year of Whips. And you have 2 Mirabilia Year of Whips. So maybe you should pull out the other one for the other 2 weeks. Because there are 4 4-day chunks in March. So maybe you need to pull out that one for the other 2 weeks. So essentially I was planning on working on 4 projects. In This Moment, Snow Castle, Lady of the Flag, and Raven Queen. But I kind of wanted to touch, really, I wanted to work on Bluebeard's Princess Mirabella, because 2 years ago I did mostly Monogamous March, and I started Queen Mermaid. I started Bluebeard's Princess, and I only worked on that for the first 3 weeks. And then I had to quit on the monogamous business. And so I kind of wanted to work on that. So all of a sudden, I was having to choose, like, which Mirabilia. The long and short of it is, it works out best to flip-flop. So my Hades are getting 4-day chunks. My Miras are getting weekends. Lady of the Flag is my number 1 lady these days, so she's actually getting 3 weekends. She got this last weekend, the first weekend of March, and then the middle weekend, and the last weekend is just Friday and Saturday. April starts on Sunday the 1st, Easter Sunday. Yes, April Fool's Day, Easter Sunday. That's a thing. So Lady of the Flag is first, middle, and last. And then I have 2 other weekends. And so I wanted to make sure that I made time for this. This is Mirabilia's Raven Queen. Now I'm going to talk about this here in a second, but this is my other Year of Whips Mira. And the irony is that this project is the reason that I went to this weekend Mira business, and it's also the one that suffers the consequences for it. So originally it was going to get 4 days or 8, and instead it's getting 3. But never mind. So, okay. So, Mirabilia's Raven Queen, no name needle minders. I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity by Edgar Allan Poe. And like I said, I'll talk about that in a second. So this is coming up supposedly tomorrow. We'll see. It might be after Birthstone Dragons. So let me go ahead and show you where I'll be starting from. I subbed out the black for Anchor Black, and I'm working in the bottom in her dress. This is my oldest current Mirabilia from 2015. Okay, so that's where I'm starting from. And I set my goal for 1,200 stitches on this piece this month. So we'll see. 32 count Belfast and Haunted by Picture This Plus is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeousness. Okay. So this is second weekend. So first, third, and fifth is Lady of the Flag. Second weekend is Raven Queen. Fourth weekend. Fourth weekend is the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. The year 2018 is my 5-year stitching anniversary. I've been stitching for 5 years, almost 5 years. We're not quite there yet. I went back through my Amazon purchases and past Amazon orders, and I ordered my very first cross-stitch kit on March 22nd, 2013. And that was that Take Time, the Dimensions Learn a Craft. So I estimated that it probably took 3 days to get to me, maybe 3 days. So I probably started it on the 25th or the 26th. I keep doing this, thinking. So I am celebrating my stitching anniversary on the 26th. And I'm celebrating by stitching all day. And this kind of coincides with something else. So like I said, originally I had talked about working on Bluebeard's Princess here in March. It's just not going to happen. March 24th is the March for Our Lives. And it was organized by a whole group of people against gun violence. And so this is my 5-year stitching anniversary. It happens to land during the weekend of the 24th. So I'll be working on Stargazer by Mirabilia. And as you know, as you may know, I should say, quick segue, hi if you're new, and hi if you're returning. I don't know. I am converting this piece to be a Virginia Tech Remembrance piece. I call her Remy, short for Remembrance, and I did a color conversion so that she will be wearing a maroon overcoat. Her skirts will be orange. No, her skirts will be in the Hokie Stone colors and sort of like limestone. In the front of her skirts, maybe even apron, are in oranges because Virginia Tech's colors are maroon and orange. And I'm keeping her ribbon black because the ribbon that was created following April 16th was a black ribbon. And so I started this last year for the 10-year anniversary of the shooting on April 16th. And so I'm going to be working on this on the weekend for March for our lives. And I'm going to carry this into Monday. So Snowcastle will get 1 day less, which is fine. So this is on 32 count, I think, yes, 32 count Belfast in Florin by Chromatic Alchemy. And I started this last year on April 16th. And I have to be emotionally ready to work on this. And so that's why I've got her hair. I converted her hair to be a dirty blonde. Can you guess why? And so that's where I'm starting from. Obviously, a long way to go. Long way to go. But this is important to me. This piece is very important to me. And I'm really excited to get into my color conversion, first of all, to see if it works, and second of all, to see the gorgeous maroons and oranges play together. So yeah, so I'm going to be working on this for 4th weekend. So it's going to get 4 days. It's going to get more days than Raven Queen. That's okay. And I'm looking forward to it. It's a difficult thing to be looking forward to it because of what it represents. So there is that. Now, all of this is a regimented sort of scheduled plan, and I don't know if I'm going to stick to it because, like I said, I may work on Birthstone Dragons until it's done. I also have a potential 2, 3, 4 new starts planned, all smalls, and I'll show you them here in a second. And it's going to depend on my mood with Lady of the Flag, how obsessed I'm going to feel. It's going to depend on my mood with full coverage stitching. We'll just kind of wait and see. I'm taking a very sort of laid back approach to my stitching right now. Which, listen, I know that I've been criticized is not the word, but it's leaning towards the right word for my planning and for my scheduling. I've been told in the past stitching is supposed to be fun. Why don't you just let go of these strict rotations? Planning is part of the fun for me. I really enjoy this part. I work on my rotations and my schedules all the time. Some people play phone games. I work on my calendar. Like, it's just a part of my personality. So this is a part of the fun for me. So please don't think that I'm torturing myself by creating these schedules. I enjoy this. I also like throwing them out the window. Anyway, so we'll just kind of wait and see what happens here in March. The one thing that I know is that today I'm working on Birthstone Dragons, and we'll see about the rest. No, today I'm working on this video. We're 1 hour and 20 minutes in, give or take. I'm going to cut some things out. But yeah, so let me go back to Raven Queen for a second. So I had already planned on working on her this month. She's a Year of Whips piece. She's a Mirabilia that I am looking forward to having up on my walls. I'd really like to have her done in time for Halloween. It's never going to happen. But I'd really like to have her done for Halloween maybe next year. She's my oldest Mira, and I do adore her. So, as I said, I'd already planned on working on her this month. Earlier this week, I was watching some FlossTube, and my FlossTube watching is kind of sporadic, shall we say, as of late. So I was watching FlossTube, and I was watching Amy DeVille, Amy, her third FlossTube, and she talked about a group that she and Jen from Darkside Stitcher put together called Bewitched Stitches, or Stitchers. It'll be down here. and they are running a 3-month-long sal to celebrate Edgar Allan Poe. It is a group that you should only join if you are an open, optimistic, maybe not optimistic, but if you are open to not necessarily stitching related conversation, uncensored, and leaning on the spooky. Don't join this group if you're not interested in those things. It's not the group for happy bunnies, shall we say. So anyway, they're running this 3-month-long Edgar Allan Poe stitch along. And I love the Master and the Macabre that a bunch of people are working on. I know Bendy Stitchy Michelle is working on it. I love the Cricket collection Nevermore that Pam from Just Keep Stitching, I think she just finished it. I love all of the Poe things. One of the members of the group created an Edgar Allan Poe silhouette. I love it. It makes me so happy. Edgar Allan Poe is a touchy subject in my house. And if you know my husband, then you know why Edgar Allan Poe is a touchy subject. Of course it's sports related. Because of course it is. So Edgar Allan Poe attended the University of Virginia for exactly 1 year before he was like, nah, I'm not meant for this. And so he left after 1 year. So Edgar Allan Poe is idolized at UVA's campus. Now, UVA is my college rivalry, and so it's one of my college rivalries. You know, I can't do anything simplistic. And so Danny sort of frowns upon anybody who ever went to UVA. Tina Fey went to UVA. He does not like Tina Fey. Edgar Allan Poe is a touchy subject, and so if I start stitching Edgar Allan Poe's silhouette, Danny's going to go, why? Because goofball. Anyway, I would love to stitch the Poe silhouette, and I might still do that. But I have nicknamed Raven Queen Edgar Allan Poe because his face is in this design. Okay, so follow me here. When I first started stitching this, I didn't do all of the swirls here in the bottom. And so follow this silhouette. We have back, collar, neck, chin, mouth, nose, etc. We have here this little dip, black mustache. And so I went through several amalgamations of this. I said, oh, it's Hitler. No, it's not Hitler. I was like, oh, well, maybe it's Charlie Chaplin. And then I thought, it's Edgar Allan Poe. Of course it is. Of course Nora would hide Edgar Allan Poe's face. Now, I don't know if she actually did this or if I'm seeing things. Totally possible. I could be seeing things. But if she was hiding a face in the Raven Queen, of course it would be Edgar Allan Poe. The Raven Queen, right? Am I right? I have nicknamed this piece Edgar Allan Poe ever since I stumbled upon that. There are all sorts of things hiding in this piece. Somebody else sees a fox. You see the eyes and the nose. There are all sorts of fun things hiding in this, but there are ravens everywhere. Even the text is kind of poetic. I dream of stone castles. Sometimes a dark beauty walks the bridge. And then it says open up to read more about the Raven Queen. Okay, here's what it says. I dream of stone castles. Sometimes a dark beauty walks the bridge. Her velvet beaded gown makes a muffled whisper against the cool marble. I can hear the fluttery wings of her friends in the mist. She is a gorgeous, complicated, sweetly wicked woman. I adore her. I mean, I mean. So, the long story short is that this is my submission to the EAP Macabre Sal. I think that is the hashtag, and if it's not, then I will put it down here regardless. And so my minder, like I talked to you guys about earlier, I became insane with long intervals of horrible sanity. Edgar Allan Poe. This is by No Name Needle Minder. She still has this available, so hit Kate up. So, there's that. On top of that, the Stitch Mania month-long sale this month is Mythology. And if you go to Mirabilia's website, if you go to mirabilia.com, and you click if you click on the charts, then it pulls up them all in chronological order, starting from the most recent, Sun Goddess. However, you can divide it up into mermaids, fairies, fairy tales maybe, and then there's one called Mythology. And guess who's on that first page? Miss Raven Queen. So this is my submission for Mythology as well. So I just think it all just works out so beautifully. So I'm going to have to find a way to work on her. Maybe again in the next 2 months. Maybe in June. June? No, wouldn't be June. Well, I'm going to work on her. Oh my gosh, it looks so much like Poe. Like, I can't even unsee it now. I am going to have to talk to Andrea from I Heart Cross Stitch so that I can give her some augmentation surgery. She's a little lopsided, so we've got to fix that. And I know that Andrea, has charted and figured that out to fix that. So, ain't she pretty? She's pretty. So yeah. One last thing that I did want to say about Stargazer. If you guys want to join me for a Stitchathon on Monday the 26th, by all means, let me know. I'll create a hashtag and we'll do things. We'll stitch stuff all day. We'll abandon our responsibilities. We won't vacuum the floors that day. If you want. Totally open. It's what I'm doing on that day. I'm celebrating my 5-year stitching anniversary. Speaking of scheduling things and stitch-alongs and stitching with me stitch-alongs, my birthday Sal is a question mark at this point. I was originally going to do it. No questions asked. It's raining. It was sunny and now it's raining. Originally I was going to do it, no questions asked. And then when Stitch Mania came out with their Sals for the year, Coffee Stitcher Garrett, his birthday Sal, steamrolls right over my birthday. I was really hoping that it would be scheduled like after my birthday, because his birthday is after my birthday, and so it would, like, they wouldn't cross at all, but like right over it. And so I know that a lot of people are going to want to participate in his birthday Sal, and so I don't want to feel like I have to make people choose. The other thing is coming up with prompts for another birthday. I don't know if I could do that. I think I might have cashed them all in for last year. So we'll see. I know that I had talked about doing some sort of a stitchathon, some sort of a marathon, and so I may still do that. I just have to work out the kinks with it. If you have any ideas, I am open. I'm an open book. Let me know if you've got any ideas. Because otherwise, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Okay. Last thing with regards to scheduling. I wanted to show you guys my whip tracker. Now, I have my bullet journal that I use on occasion, that I'm already falling off the bandwagon on. But my whip tracker I use consistently. And I don't put it in my bullet journal because I have 67 current whips. I UFO'd another project, but I'll talk about that another time. I have 67 current whips, and at any given moment, I don't know what I'm going to work on, and so I like to have it in a paper format with all of them listed out. I know that some people have blank spreads, and so they add in the projects as is relevant, but I kind of like it this way. So let me show you this here real quick. So, name of the design in alphabetical order over here, not by nickname or anything like that, but by official design name. This column here is the last date that I worked on it. If it's in green, it means that I worked on it here in 2018. If it's in yellow, it has been over a year since I worked on it last, by the end of this month. So as of the 31st, if I haven't worked on a project in over a year, then it will have been lit up yellow. So for instance, Bluebeard's Princess Mirabella, the last time I worked on it was March 5th, 2017, and so it's marked up yellow. So that's that. I'm going to skip this column for a second. This last white column is number of days stitching on a project here in 2018. This one is before 2017, and that's only if I know. Most of them I don't, but if I know. And then this one here is 2017, and so everything will have something here, unless you're Poison Garden, because that's been my only new start this year thus far. Yeah, everything will have at least a 1 in there because I did track this all year last year, and so there's something there. So this column here where you see the red, my printer's being weird and so it's not as bright red as it should be, but anyway, it still gets the point across. That is a summation of all of these 3 columns combined. So for instance, Birthstone Dragon Sal, I worked on it for 2 days in 2016 when I started it, 15 days in 2017, and before now, 4 days in 2018. So I've worked on that for a total of 21 days. So that's what that is. If I started a project before 2017, then I don't necessarily know how many days have gone into it. Some of them I've been able to guess. Like, for instance, August by the Cricket Collection. I started that in 2016. I know that I only worked on it 1 day in 2016. And so it's a case-by-case basis. So if I don't know, then it has a little U for unknown. So these ones in red are any less than 5. In other words, since starting these projects, they have gotten less than 5 days total effort put into them. And I would wager that 60 to 70% of these projects, are like that. And that does not count the U's. Like, 60 to 70% of these are in red. So the reason that I did that, the reason that I wanted to figure that out, was influenced by Stephanie from Miss Oh So Crafty. And she talked about at one point that, I think it was with her water goddess, that she started it and barely put any time into it so that it's barely a start at this point. And so then I got curious because a lot of my projects are like that. I started them 1 day and I haven't worked on them since. And I don't like that at all. I really don't like that. Especially since basically everything I start is BAPs. They're all big. They're all massive. And some of these I started in 2016 and I still don't have 5 days. So, for instance, August by the Cricket Collection has 2 days effort. In almost 2 years, 2 days. I'm looking at some of the older ones because most of my mania starts from last year fall under this category. 1 day, that's it. So C3PO Sugar Skull, Coffee Break, Garden Beauty, Garden Muses, Around the World in 80 Stitches, Aphrodite, and Enchanted January, Alice in a Dolly Dream. It's madness, you guys. It's madness. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it that I have these projects that are barely started. And so last year it was my goal to get every single one of my projects worked on a little bit, at least within the calendar year 2017. My new goal is to get all of these projects to at least 5 days. At least 5 days effort. So, for instance, Alice in a Dolly Dream, I've got to give it 4 days this year. Enchanted January, 4 days. Aphrodite, 4 days. Around the World in 80 Stitches, 4 days. I have to work on these this year to get up to at least 5 days. Most of the U's, most of the unknowns, most of them, I can say with relative confidence that they got more than 5 days. So April by Anna Dittman for Heaven and Earth Designs. Well, I have 3 pages done, so I hope that took me more than 5 days. Autumn Fairy by Chatelaine. I worked on that for 6 days last year, so obviously that one is over 5 days. But August Quilt by Paula Vaughn, maybe 5 days, but I don't know, and I started that in 2015. You guys, I tell you what, they say that knowledge is power, but it comes with consequences, and my consequences are that I am rethinking everything. Please tell me you can hear Thor snoring. It's extraordinary. Anyway, so the point of all of this is that my goal for the year has changed. If there are projects that don't get worked on at all this year, okay. I'll figure that out for years to come. But my additional goal on top of your whips is to get them all to at least 5 days. Listen to this. My last start, I'm getting like, my last start for 2017 was Snow Castle by Heaven and Earth Designs. I started that on December 21st, 2017. It has 16 days effort. So I've worked on it for a total of 13 days here in 2018. But Alice in a Dolly Dream that I started in May of last year has 1 day. Like, I've got to change my thinking, my focus. So I just am. I'm just coming at things a little bit differently. So there we have it. Basically, if I'm starting something, it's going to get a big chunk of time. And for me, if I work on a project on the 4th, it doesn't matter if I sit down for 15 minutes and then I have to get up and be done for the day. I mark that as a day. So it's not like I have to work on Alice in a Dolly Dream for 32 hours to reach that, like an 8-hour day. That's not necessary. So that's something that I'll be keeping in mind. Of course, here in March, I know Raven Queen's got 5 days. Stargazer has 2 days, so it's going to get 4, and so there's another one done on that mark. I just wanted to know what that information was. So that's it. That's it for the planning. Okay, so let's get started talking about haul for the last 6 weeks. Now, a couple of notes. First of all, this is not necessarily everything. This is just sort of what I could grab up real quick that I had already been piling up in places, and what I already knew I was gonna show you. It also isn't a lot because I'm stitched from stashing, and so, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to start with a couple of things that were digital downloads. And the first was a purchase. Now this was heavily influenced by somebody on Instagram, and I'm going to insert her Instagram handle down below. I now know her to be Maddie. She is one of Olivia B's stitching friends that Olivia B introduced on one of her latest videos, and I don't remember if it's her latest or if it's a couple of videos back. I'm not sure. But Maddie had shared this on her Instagram a couple weeks ago, maybe, and I immediately had to have it because I adore the aesthetic of it, and it's fabulous. So this is from an Etsy seller, and the name of the Etsy seller is Samplers and Stories. Samplers and Stories is a Russian designer, and so the instructions are all in Russian. They are all in Cyrillic, but the design itself is actually in English. It is called Herbal Grimoire, and it is so cool. So this is a black and white because I wanted to print out a cover so that I could show it to you guys, but I didn't want to use up all that ink. So this is a black and white rough draft. So we have Black Nightshade for binding enchantment. This is a very witchy, very spiritual, very spooky. Mandrake, magic for fertility and love. Clover protects from evil spirits. Foxglove to attract fairy energy. We've got the phases of the moon. Various witchy symbols. Symbols of alchemy. Monk's hood. Protection from werewolves. And Belladonna, the doorway between worlds. And I'm probably going to stick in an S there because doorway between worlds. Anyway, I think that it's all in black. It's all charted in black on this gorgeous, like antique parchmenty looking paper, or fabric rather. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And Samplers and Stories is now on my watch list. Yeah, so it's mostly in black with white, white backstitch. And the fabric is not as parchmenty as I thought. It's Newcastle flax. So good. So good. So I'm really excited about this, and I might start it. If I have fabric. Okay. Next is a free download. I know that I am not the only one. Caroline from Off the Grid Needle Arts has recently talked about this designer, and they are sort of making a name for themselves in the community. Everybody's kind of talking about modern folk embroidery, and I go on that website, and I just drool over everything. I mean, absolutely drool. I want everything that Jacob has designed. It is extraordinary. I am finding myself drawn to sampler, not samplers necessarily, but Quaker, the Quaker aesthetic. Geometric, but also sort of antique-y feeling, old feeling. And that's essentially what modern folk embroidery is. They are currently running a 2018 mystery sale. I did not jump in because I'm not doing any sales this year, any of the mystery sales. I'm also trying not to buy things. So I thought, I'm going to download something. They've got some freebies, and one of the freebies, and again, this is in black and white, but I wanted to be able to show it to you, is called Let's Be Kind. Let's talk about modern relevance here. Let's be kind. This is another something that I'm contemplating stitching, like, now. If I can find the right thread, and I just had a thought I might have it. Okay. Anyway, let's be kind. Now, you all may be thinking, this was created recently, given modern events. You would be incorrect. This design was created in April of 2015 in advance of the very divisive UK elections. Yeah, national elections heading up to, and so Jacob was concerned that that maybe this sentiment needed to be spread because conversations got heated and feelings got hurt in advance of the UK elections in 2015. And now we have 2016 to look at, which is arguably the most divisive year in American political history. And now in the stitching community, we're having some shenanigans. And we need a little bit of kindness. So I think I want to stitch this. Because I just like it. And I just want to stitch one of Jacob's designs. I mean, I'll call it like it is. Like I said, this is free. It's a freebie. So, there's that. So I got that. That just happened to be in the pile. I don't normally show you the freebies that I download, but that happened to be in the pile. Okay, let's do this one next, because this is another something that I might start now. And I'll show you why. This is Little House Needleworks Farmhouse Christmas. Yep, bandwagon. I'm writing it. Who else? Yeah, jumped right on that. I wasn't going to. And then Trisha from 3 Owl Threads started offering it. I'm taking it out of the plastic because holy glare, Batman. So there's that. Farmhouse Christmas. Adorable. I mean, just adorable. So I got the threads too. This right here, this combination right here, and the subsequent 8 charts that are going to go with this, is the reason that my Stitch from Stash, I'm having to be very frugal these days, because I spent a chunk of change on these things. So these are the classic colorworks for this design, and I think they're all classic colorworks. I probably won't use the white, just because stitching with white is enough fun as it is, let alone hand-dyed white. I don't think they're all the same, though. Bamboo, bamboo. Oh, maybe they are. Yeah, I guess they're all bamboo. Anyway. But this guy? Roasted chestnut. Yep. Looking forward to that. Yeah, I like the color palette, except for the white. I'll probably use DMC white instead. Although, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So a couple of weeks ago, Danny and I were at Michael's, and I like to peruse, and so we're looking in the frame section. What were we looking for? We were looking for some metal hardware for a frame, because I'm getting ready to frame something. And so I was looking for the hardware. I couldn't find it, but no worries there. So on the other wall of where the hardware should have been was this. And immediately I went, I need that. I need that. I need that for Farmhouse Christmas. I need it. But I wasn't in the market to buy it at that point, and so I was like, I'm going to have to keep that in mind, that Michaels has that. Now, I will fully admit to the fact that I was heavily influenced by Priscilla, of Priscilla and Chelsea, and her Frosty Forest display. She used something similar to this, and hers might have been a thrift store find or a garage sale find, I don't know. But it's this, and I'll talk about getting it here in a second. So this is so excellent, it's not even funny. Okay, so number one, it's distressed. So there's paint chips, and so it looks a little weathered. And then there are these guys, already affixed to it. So I just have to finish each of the blocks, which guess what? There are 9. And there are 9 here. How perfect is this? It's all coming together. I have to check the width to make sure that we're okay on the width, and then what size to make the ornaments themselves. So just clip them on there. Okay? So we were at Michael's again the other day, and I was like, I'm going to go look at that thing. I want to know how much it is. If it's under $50, then number one, I won't be surprised, but I'll probably just go ahead and get it. Framing materials do not count against Stitch from Stash. So just the same as finishing doesn't count as a credit. So I walked over there and I looked at the sticker and it said $80. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me, $80? It's super excessive. Like, why? But okay. So then I asked one of the attendants, is that legit? Like, is this really $80? And she was like, yeah, it's really $80. I wondered if it said it on the sticker, because the sticker's actually down on the bottom and the back. And so I went, well, that's a really great idea for when I get a 50% off coupon. And when you check out at Michael's, a lot of times you get a 50% off one regular price item coupon, but to be used at a later date. So the next day, yesterday, I got an email from Michael saying, one day, 3 p.m. to close, 60% off one regular price item. And I went, I really hope they didn't put it on sale today because I'm going to go get it. And so I did. I got it. Originally $80. I got it for like $30. I'm so excited. I'm super excited because I was otherwise going to have to talk Danny into building me one. And I wasn't really prepared for that. So I'm really, really excited for this. So now I can start my Farmhouse Christmas, because if this wasn't going to happen, then I was going to have to stitch it all together. And because I'm not that creative. I am not a Priscilla. My Priscilla hat is broken and up in the closet, like at somebody else's house, no less. So I needed this to happen in order for me to be able to do the individualized ornaments. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to find Vanna's tutorial. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I watched Vanna's tutorial in this, so that I can stitch these little ornaments up. Super cute. Okay, a little bit more haul. I think, oh no, I've got charts. Okay, so I don't know if you guys heard, but Lizzie Kate is retiring. And super excited for them getting to retire at a decent age, this day and age. In 2018 is not an easy feat. Some people never get to retire. I mean, did you guys see that commercial during the Super Bowl? I'm 85 and I just want to go home. Anyway, super excited for Lizzie Kate. But with the way that things are in our community, the Lizzie Kate apocalypse happened. And when we first got the news, I was like, okay, so they're not officially retiring till March 31st. So there's plenty of time for the stores to get in the charts and for me to acquire what I'm after. We got this news on the 13th of February, I think. 13th or 12th. So they said March 31st is end day. We're done printing at that point. And so I thought, that's plenty of time. It was 6 weeks from the date. Plenty of time. So I started looking at Lizzie Kate designs and I went, okay, so let me just have sort of an idea of what I would want when they retire and their charts are no longer available. And so I put together my list. I have already started the Tingles series, but I only had the first chart, and so I needed the other 5. I really love Promise Me. I've wanted to stitch Promise Me for a very long time. And then the Celebrate with Charm series, so the various holidays with their little charms. I already have Liberty, the 4th of July related one, and so I thought, well, perhaps I could collect the rest of those. So I'm talking to Danny about it. I'm like, I might have to pull the trigger here before too long on a pile of charts that I wouldn't have otherwise. With the Tingle series, I had planned on collecting them kind of as needed. They are flippets, and so you get 2 charts per little booklet. So I was like, I'm good. I can hold off for a little while. But, you know, there's a few here. So February 13th, we went out to dinner for Valentine's Day. We like celebrating Valentine's Day. We do not like celebrating Valentine's Day with everybody else. And so we decided to go out the night before Valentine's to try to avoid the crowds and the madness and the... I'm not about it. People are so mean about food. So we decided to go out the night before. So we get home. After dinner, we went to Bonefish. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. It doesn't matter. We get home, and I go to... He wanted to know what it would cost to get them all today, the day of the 13th. And I didn't have that number, and we were getting ready to leave the house. So we get home. I pull up my 1, 2, 3 stitch card because I put them all in there just to have them there. And every single one, 10 charts. This item is currently unavailable. Please remove from your cart. And I'm like, are you really? We just got the news like 12 hours ago and 1, 2, 3 stitch is out? Okay. So I go to Down Sunshine Lane. I do the same thing. They're missing basically all of the Celebrate with Charm, Promise Me, and 2 of the Tingles. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So it's already an apocalypse at this point, and it's 12 hours. Like, it's been news for 12 hours. And it's already getting hard to find. And before long, the prices are going to skyrocket on secondhand, like eBay or Stash Unload, or they're going to be impossible to find because people are going to hoard. I heard rumor, and it could just be rumor, but apparently somebody went to 1, 2, 3 Stitch and immediately bought everything. Like, everything. Multiple copies of a chart to resell and profit. I'm sorry to the people who attended the latest Stitchy meetup in Fairfax, because we've already had this conversation. You've heard this before. Anyway, almost done. So I'm like, Danny, I have to do this now. I have to do this now because they're disappearing already. And he was like, you got to be kidding me, not already. And I was like, already. I mean, already. I could not find Promise Me on eBay. I could not find They Celebrate with Charm on Down Sunshine Lane or what have you. So I went with the one that I've already started. I've already started the Tingle series, which is the companion piece to the Jingles. Like, if I get nothing else, I've got to get the Tingle series. And so I did. So I got what Down Sunshine Lane had, and then I ordered the other two off eBay before eBay sellers could jack up their pricing. I hate this, you guys. I really do. I hate this. I hate it that a designer retires and we get like the world is coming to an end. Now, it's highly likely that I could have said, 1, 2, 3 Stitch, will you send me an email notification for these 5 charts? And then they will recognize the need and they'll order such and such from Lizzie Kate, and Lizzie Kate will reprint up through March 31st, that deadline, and they'll send them to them. So it's not like a true apocalypse. Like, it's not going to be impossible to find Lizzie Kate's as of today, here 2 weeks after the announcement. But I just felt like I had to get them, otherwise there's a possibility that I couldn't. And with the way that Halloween is becoming so very much appreciated in the stitching community these days, I was really afraid for the Tingle series. So I got the last 5. And if I don't ever get to stitch Promise Me or to Celebrate with Charm, then so be it. So that's the back to show you what the whole design will look like together. And here they are. So just Batty and Trick or Treat, Smell My Feet. It's Hallow Scream and Double Double Toil and Trouble. I love that one. That one's probably one of my favorites, if I'm honest. I wonder why. It's Halloween and Fright Night. Spooky and Gone Haunting. I like Gone Haunting too. I think it's the G. I think it's the capital letter. Although it's... And then October 31st, or October 31 and Jack-o'-lantern. I also like that one. Both of them. So anyway, I had to grab those. Danny was like, that'll be your Valentine's Day gift. Go ahead and get those. So these, normally about $40, cost me a little bit more than that after eBay seller pricing and shipping and whatnot. So nabbed those up before couldn't. Okay, so that's it for the charts. I made it through another Heaven and Earth Design 50% off sale without buying a single one. I win. Okay, so there's a bunch of fabrics here. The first one is arguably my favorite thing that Hand Dyed by Stephanie has ever done. This is Colonial Parchment, and I think that this was February's Fabric of the Month. No, it would be January. I think so. I don't know. Yeah, January. Colonial Parchment. And this was created for another hands-on design collaboration. It is a little bit peachier in real life than it's showing. It's looking a little bit more yellow, but it's got more of a peachy tone. That's a little bit better. Yeah, you can kind of see the peachier bits. It's a stunning neutral. I thought maybe, but I wonder if it's too light. Might be too light. So there's that. Then I got my replacement fabric for Seaside Kingdom so that I can start that. I got the 32 count white Belfast. Thank you so much to Sarah, Stitchin' Mommy. She mentioned that she did her Seaside Kingdom on the on the plain white, and it's stunning on that. And so, like, that was some affirmation for me. I had already ordered it by the time you said that, Sarah, but I feel really good about it now. So, plain old boring white Belfast, but I don't care. There it is. It's going to look right. Along with that, I got a small piece of flax, 32 count 9x13, because I thought maybe. But I hadn't started it yet because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make the frame thing happen. So now I have license to start. Unless that's too light as well. Although it kind of matches. It calls for 30 count Northern Cross. Which I have no idea what color that means. But anyway. So potentially. And then next I have 2 fabrics of the month from Under the Sea Fabrics. So this is January and February. That's right, my February hand-dyed by Stephanie will be here tomorrow. So this is January, and this is Winter Sunset, and this is really pretty. Like a pink base with some purple gray splotches. This is really pretty. I like this corner. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Very, very nice. So, and that came across pretty accurately. And then February's, which just arrived the other day. This is Galeen, or Galeen. Not sure, but it's a gorgeous blue. There's a mermaid going on this. Maybe Renaissance mermaid? Renaissance? Did I really just say that? Renaissance mermaid? Maybe not a mermaid at all. Who knows? It's going in the stash. I know that for sure. Definitely, it's like As You Wish, but like darker. Like a As You Wish dark version. Pretty semi-solid and very accurately showing blues and greens. Like some kind of green hints. Gorgeous. Fabric, I am not in want of fabric. And that's it for haul. Pretty quick. Not a ton of purchasing going on in this household these days. So I have 2 more topics of conversation, and I'm going to make them quick because this video is roughly 2 hours long already. Yup. So let's start with books. And books is kind of a touchy subject for me right now. I haven't been reading. I don't remember the last time I read a page. And the reason is that I got stalled on this. This is the book that I had picked for January's. You guys remember I was doing the TBR jar. Is the operative word there. Where I pulled out 2 tasks for the Around the Year challenge. And this was one of the January ones, Intimidating Read. And so I started it, and I am on page 32 in 2 months. I haven't felt able to move on and read other things because this hasn't been read yet. I never even went to my library to see if they had the other 2 that I had picked for February, the Shadow of the Wind and Do Not Say We Have Nothing. I didn't even try to find those because I couldn't get past this. And so it's just kind of reaffirming that it's an intimidating read. It's wonderful. What I've read so far, it's good. I just haven't been in the right mood for literary fiction. And this definitely qualifies for literary fiction. But I haven't also been really in the mood for reading in general. So I'm trying to, in an effort to cut down on my screen time before going to sleep, 10 minutes without screens. And so I would spend 10 minutes reading every night before going to bed, hoping to help the head. And maybe the screens is what forced it to linger for so long. Who knows? double-edged sword. It also helps me get back into reading, supposedly. But that disappeared a long time ago, and I haven't done that in weeks. So, not reading this, so I decided to start an audiobook. I don't like the narrator for this. I listened to a sample of it, and I didn't like the tone. I didn't like the way that the person was reading it, and so this one I'm just gonna have to read. I can't listen to the audiobook for it. So I decided to start listening to a different audiobook, and I decided to go with something that I have already read. So that is Dragonfly in Amber by Diana Gabaldon. It's book 2 in the Outlander series, and like I said, I've already read it a few years ago. And I had sort of played with the idea of trying to read the rest of the series this year. I don't know what I was thinking, because they are each of the next 6 books, maybe 7, north of 800 pages. Are you kidding me? Like, this is 500 and I can't get through it. So whatever, delusions of grandeur. So I started listening to the audiobook, and I got 5 hours into a 40-hour audiobook, and I haven't started it up again. I sort of feel bad listening to an audiobook when I'm stitching, because I should be watching FlossTube. That's primary FlossTube watching time. And so then I would get into this battle within my own head. Well, I could watch FlossTube, or I could listen to the audiobook, but then I'd want to be doing the other, so I did nothing. I would stitch in silence, which bothers a bunch of people, but it doesn't bother me at all. So I haven't listened to a page of it in a very long time. So yesterday, I had a credit available on Audible, and I joined the Bewitched Stitches group, and even though I was working on my Birthstone Dragons, I still wanted to participate in the Poe business. So I downloaded the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. The Kindle version is 1,350 pages. The audiobook is roughly 48 hours. It's a big book, but it is the first volume of Edgar Allan Poe's complete works. And it has the favorites. The Raven, The Telltale Heart, Annabelle Lee, Fall of the House of, oh my gosh, the name? Of Usher, Fall of the House of Usher, Mask of the Red Death, you know, all of the recognizable ones, and then some other ones that I haven't read before. And so I thought, well, I'm going to listen to that while I'm stitching, because then I can still be kind of in the Poe mood, in the spirit of the cell, but, you know, I can still stitch what I've been intending to stitch. Well, I hate the narrator. The narrator sounds, and I said this in the group, the narrator sounds like Siri, if Siri was a guy trying and failing at a British accent. I don't love the narrator. So we'll see if I continue with that. I might return it. There are several audiobooks that are the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe, and so I might try a different one, but we'll see. I'll talk about that next time. Speaking of books read, I did finish Across the Universe. That was an audiobook. I hated it. I read it the first time 5 years ago, I think, all in one sitting. Maybe that's why, or maybe I'm just too far removed from YA science fiction. I talked about this previously. I did not enjoy it at all. I found a lot of flaws, and so that was a bummer. Maybe that's why I'm not reading. I don't know. So, going through all of this, I've decided to put the TBR jar business away for a while, the Around the Year Challenge. reading is ultimately the goal, and this is kind of making me not read. So I'm going to put this up. I'm going to put it away for a little while. I'd really like to read this. I would really like to read everything that Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has written. But maybe later. Maybe some other time. Now's not the time. So instead, I'm just going to kind of read what I want to, and we'll go with that. And the first thing that I want to read is the February book for the Sibs Book Club. My brother and I are kind of reading the same thing, but we haven't talked about it like we were supposed to. And so the February selection was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Coming to a movie theater near you next year. Or this year. Maybe this year. This is an important book that everybody should read, especially us here in the United States. We should read this. And so I'm gonna. Angie Thomas has another book coming out, I think, next year, that is also like pre-order. Pre-order that now. If I could think of the title, I would. Yeah. So I'm gonna get into this. Everybody says that it's hard to read in places, and I think somebody says, if The Hate You Give makes you uncomfortable, that's because it should. Okay. All right, here we go. So, time to read it. And then something else that has popped up recently. Bendy Stitchy Michelle Garrett has been reading the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I don't know if she has started Heir of Fire yet. The first time I read The Throne of Glass was an advanced reader copy before it was published in 2011. Was it 2011? Maybe it was 2012. Let me think. Let me see here. 2012. So she's getting ready to, or has started reading, or has already finished, I'm not sure, Heir of Fire, which is the third book in the series. And I'm going to finally, after 6 years, read the second, Crown of Midnight. So this is the hardcopper. I'm getting tired of talking. A hard copy version of Crown of Midnight. And this is classified as young adult because the main character is 17 years old at the start. But there are some older adult, new adult, it's really what they call it, themes in places. It's not quite new adult. New adult is kind of like what I would liken romance to, but like for college kids. College kid romance. That's the best description there is. Anyway, so this is young adult. It's classed as young adult. And it is fantasy, and our heroine here is Selena Sardathian, and she is an assassin, and she's a badass. And so I probably need to start reading this. So, like, a couple of chicks I need to be reading here on International Women's Day. Although every day is Women's Day. And then here is another book that I thought I was going to try to read in February, and then I didn't. And now I need to be reading it now because I had to buy it, and so I better read it. And I've already read this. I've read this a few times. I read it every year. It is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And every time I read it, I like to read a different edition. And that is the case with this. So this is the Penguin Drop Caps edition. Penguin Drop Caps is a series from A to Z. So we have A is for Austen, and now I can't think of the other ones, of what any of the other ones are. But they are these gorgeous, gorgeous hardcovers with this illustrative capital letter on the front. And this is way smaller than I thought it was going to be. It's not an average size hardcover. You see that? So that was different. One other thing that I didn't know was going to happen was that. Do you see that? The edges are in red. Oh, cool. So I guess that the other ones are edged in their primary color. That's amazing. And now I want all 26, regardless of my attraction to them. But I do love Pride and Prejudice. It is absolutely one of my favorite stories ever, and I'm really excited to get into this. Yeah, much love. So there's that. So that's it for books. I'm not reading, but I'm going to try to read. How about that? Okay, I'm going to reset here, and we're going to talk about our final topic. Okay, so I'm going to make knitting pretty quick here. I have 2 finished objects, 1 hoe, and 2 whips. Hoe is half object, half finished object, okay? So, cool your jets. I just had a thought for what the title of the episode should be. I'm working on my PhD in hoes. Project half done in half finished objects. But, like, that would attract the wrong crowd. Anyway, so we're going to start with the finishes. The last that I spoke to you, I was working on 2 things, and one of them was my submission for the January prompt for the Willy Wonka Palooza. The sun is back, and it's starting to set because it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now. Anyway, and so the January prompt for the Willy Wonka Palooza, run by Ann P. Hi, Ann. She picked, she went with gray and or lace, and so I did both. And so I was working on the Rochambeau Cowlette. This was created and designed by Karina Spencer. I have not yet blocked it. I was somewhere in this region, maybe, or had I started the lace? I'm not sure. But regardless, it's finished now. And so I'll just kind of try to show you the lace patterning. It's kind of this fanning look. It's not feather and fan, but it's kind of a fan. And did I change that? No, that was in the pattern. So yeah, and I knit this out of Plucky Knitter Primo Fingering, which is it is a fingering weight MCN. To all of you new knitters in the world, I hope that you were following that. If you're not, fingering weight is sock weight, or 4-ply if you are outside of the United States. MCN is merino, cashmere, nylon. It's a common blend in sort of luxurier bases. Superwash merino, nylon, and cashmere. So wool, squishy, and strength. It's essentially what I call it. And the colorway is Kindred Spirits, which was inspired by Anne of Green Gables. I called this my Anne Cowlette. And so there it is, all finished up. And I need to block it so that it will lay correctly on my neck. It's okay on my neck right now, because this part just kind of folds over a little bit, but it's not quite what it's supposed to do. It's kind of supposed to lay like that. And the lace needs to be opened up quite a bit. So this was, it's worked out to be a really quick knit. It would have gone a lot faster if I had focused on it more. But I love the finished piece. Okay, next, on January 31st, I finally Kitchenered the toe of my very first hand knit sock. So it's sitting on the sock blocker, even though I haven't washed it, so it's not actually blocking or anything. And yeah, I'm so excited. Look at that. Kitchener toe and everything. That I'm going to have to work on. So Kitchenering is where I went from an open tube to a closed toe. But that is a term and a skill that new knitters learn later. So this is not really following a pattern. 2x2 rib, knit the first row after cast on, long tail cast on, 64 stitches, knit until this measurement reached about 7 inches, twisted stitch, heel flap, turn and gusset, standard decreases on the foot, and then I think I did the rounded toe, but it's been over a month since I finished this, so I'm not entirely sure. And I learned a lot. So I knitted magic loop, which again is a term that new knitters will learn a little later, but it basically means long cable for small tube. It makes it so that you don't have to knit on DPNs, which is good. So my gauge I have to work on because I got some laddering here. And you can see the edge of the sock, you can see the laddering there. It's okay. It's not awful, but it's not great. It's a little big and it's a little long. I think that I could probably shave off 2 inches and be happier with the length of the sock. I also think that if I'm gonna knit them on US 1.5s, that I need to go down to maybe 60 stitches or 58. Something a little bit smaller. Maybe still do the 64 in the 2x2 rib, but then decrease down for the leg. We'll see. I'm going to try something on future socks. What else? I've got to work on my picking up stitches right here, which let me put my hand in it so that you can see what I'm talking about. You can see holes there. So that's not really good for the integrity of the sock, and you see that? Those holes there. So I've learned a lot. It's not like a work of art, but it's a sock and it goes on my foot. And I got through the heel. So, like, this is a super win. Here's what's not a win. I finished Kitchenering the toe. I immediately cast on the second. Second sock syndrome apparently is still a thing, even if you cast on the second sock immediately. Apparently I am not impervious to second sock syndrome. So there we have it. I did the ribbing. I thought that once I got the ribbing done that I would zoom down the leg. It didn't happen. I knit an inch and then I haven't picked it up. I have a lot of yarn left. Speaking of yarn, Sweet Georgia Tough Love Sock, fingering weight merino nylon, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, in the West Wind colorway. Gorgeous, pale greeny blues. So it's still a whip. I'll work on it, and I went to go cast on the other pair of socks that I had planned to start here in March. But number one, I don't have needles. I thought I did. But my other pair of sock needles are on a 24-inch cable, and that's really just too short for magic loop, so there goes that idea. And also, I kind of feel obligated to finish this one before I cast on another pair. So if I don't get 6 pairs this year, that's okay. I'll just keep at it. That's really the whole point, is just to keep at it. So there's that. And while my sock goal is a bit of a struggle, my Willy Wonka Palooza goal is steam ahead. So I don't know that I showed you guys. Maybe I did show you the yarn, but I'm not entirely sure. if I even had it at that point. So the prompt for February was pink and or cowl. And so I decided to make a pink cowl. Now mine's not technically a cowl yet because I don't have my buttons. I don't have them, nor do I have them sewn on, of course. But I knit the Gothic Lace Cowl by Tin Can Knits. Oh, now I remember, I didn't have the yarn yet. It was on the way, but it hadn't arrived yet. So the colorway is Pink Frost. And so you can see it there. It's this gorgeous dusty pink. It's coming up a little bit brighter than it actually is. It's really a dusty color. I don't have my ends woven in yet. It took almost two full skeins of the Malabrigo worsted, which is 100% merino in a singles worsted base. So it's a heavier weight in singles, so it's not plied. You see that? It's really just spun, but it's not plied together like that there. You can kind of see how it's twisted on itself. Maybe you can see that. There we go. You can see that twist. You won't see that in a singles base because it's not been plied. And what I discovered while working on this is Malabrigo worsted is a super, super soft base, and it's cheap. $11.60 a skein from Eat Sleep Knit. So I got this for $20. $20, and it's not a commercial brand. I mean, I guess Malabrigo is kind of a commercial brand, but it's not. Like, you're not going to find it at Michael's. You're not going to find it at Joann's. You have to get it from a yarn shop. It's gorgeous, and it's so soft. So I'm going to need like a sweater. On top of that, it's worsted to Aran, and there are some parts where I would even call it bulky. Because it's a singles, it's not plied, so it's not a consistent weight. It varies. You can kind of see how it's a little bit thinner over here, and then it kind of gets a little fluffy over there, and then it thins out a little bit. So that's what you get with the singles base, is that it's not the most consistent. But you treat it like a worsted or an Aran base. You knit it to gauge based on that. So anyway, so here's the cowl, and I will attach some buttons. I did not do the crochet buttonholes. I did just standard knit buttonholes instead. I've had a hell of a time trying to find buttons that will work at like at big box craft stores. I can't find really anything. So let me talk about this real quick. I made some modifications to this. It's not quite as long as it should be, but that's because I ran out of yarn. And the reason I ran out of yarn is that I added 2 extra repeats of the lace to the width. So it's essentially that much wider than it should be. Because I really wanted something that would go over my neck and kind of drape, but like be a little bit cozier. And when I first cast on, and I looked at the width, I was like, that's a little short. So let me make it a little bit wider. So I did. And then I also changed, okay, this part right here. When you get to the top, is that right? Yes. Okay. So when you get to the top of this, that is called it's called a double decrease. And so you have knit 2 togethers and SSKs or slip knits that are single decreases. So you go from 2 stitches to 1 or 3 stitches to 2, you know, it's a single decrease. A double decrease goes down 2 stitches, so we go from 3 to 1. here. Decreases have a lean. So even a single decrease, it has a lean. And so it will either lean right or it'll lean left. And I think that there is a center single decrease. This was charted with a leaning double decrease at the peaks of this motif here. So we have this kind of leaf looking thing, and then it came to a peak. And so it wanted me to put in a leaning decrease there. But I really kind of like the look of a center double decrease, and so that's what I did instead. I swapped out for the center double decrease, which is slip 2, knit 1, pass the 2 stitches over. That's all it is? Is that right? I think so. I think that's right. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, so you can tell, like, it looks like it really cleanly comes to a point there. So, I love this. I can't wait to block this. And it's kind of cold here these days. Kind of, like upper 40s. Well below freeze, or into freezing temperatures at night. So I can't wait to block this and wear the heck out of it. Because it's good. It's just really good. I just have to find buttons. And I'm going to need a sweater out of this yarn. And I'm going to need Anne to start stocking a singles worsted. Or singles of any kind, really. I like singles. I love knitting with singles bases. They're some of my favorites. Okay. 3 more things. So, prompt for March with Willy Wonka Palooza is green and or cables. And so I will be making something green cabley. And that thing is Father Cables by, oh no, who's this by? Veronica Job for Yoth Yarns, which is Yarn on the House. So it's called Father Cables, and it's a hat, and it's cabley. Lots and lots of cables. And lots of cables that I've never done before. So this has 2x2 cabling. It has 2x2 purl cables. It has 1x1 cables. I think that's all of them. Yeah. So there is that. And I am knitting this out of some deep stash. Deep stash. I am knitting this out of the Uncommon Thread, Lush Worsted, which is an 80-10-10 superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, and the color is Zatouni. Yeah, Zatouni. This is deep stash. Like, I think I bought this in 2014. So here we go. Now this is a UK dyer. This is gorgeous, dark, moody green. I love this. So the Uncommon Thread is a UK dyer, and they do primarily semi-solids. And for a long time, it was kind of hard to get this in the States. There might have been some shops that had the Uncommon Thread, but not the online shops that I usually went to. It was really hard to find. So I'm perusing Instagram, and a woman by the name of Gina, her Instagram handle is Skein Cocaine. She used to get in small batches of some of the dyers that are a little bit harder to come by here in the States. And so they're primarily European, UK dyers, etc. So she would get Hedgehog Fibers, which is dyed in Ireland and up until recently didn't retail in the States, and Wollmeise from Germany. I'm trying to think what else. The Uncommon Thread, La Bien-Aimée. So there were a bunch of dyers that you couldn't really find in the States. She would have these Instagram sales. So she would put up 3 or 4 skeins, and she'd be like, first ones to comment me, please. gets it, I'll send you the invoice. So I had been trying to catch some hedgehog fibers. I wanted hedgehog. And I had zero success. I wouldn't catch her Instagram sales on time. This was back when Instagram was chronological, and so it was really easy. If you were there, there it was. Do you guys remember those days? That was fun. Anyway, so I was having no luck. Then I was like, okay, so maybe I need to tone down on the hedgehog. Maybe I need to look at some of these other dyers that she offers. Some of these other bases, some of these other yarns. But I mean, striking out completely. Like, I just couldn't get fast enough. Understandable. It's hard to find in the States, and she's been doing these Instagram sales forever. Finally, I was on Instagram at the right time. Pull down to refresh, and the uncommon threadlush worsted in Zatuni pops up. And so it came to live with me. And it didn't matter what it was. Like, I was just like, I want to get something so that I can say that I won. So I got this. And this is worsted, so it's 200 yards. It's not like I'm going to be able to find enough to make anything substantial out of this. It was destined to be a hat or a small cowl. Fortunately, before knitting it, I realized that I don't care for small cowls. I like the bigger ones. But a hat I could do. And so that's what I did. I cast on for this hat. A couple days ago. Wasn't quite March 1st, but a couple days ago. And so I am knitting this on itty bitty teeny tiny. I think these are, they're Addy Turbos. And so I have the ribbing done. Now it calls for 1x1 ribbing. However, what she wants you to do is cast on in a larger needle size, then go down in a needle size. Go down to a smaller needle to knit the 1x1 ribbing, and then go back up to the larger needles to knit the rest of the hat. I didn't feel like switching. I didn't feel like switching needles. So I looked up ribbing to try to find a ribbing that was maybe not as stretchy as 1x1. Something that was a little bit tighter, because the goal of going down a needle size is to tighten up your gauge so that it's a little bit smaller. And so I wanted the ability to tighten up my ribbing without having to change needle sizes. And so what I found was that 2x2 ribbing is really kind of less stretchy. It's a little bit more stringent than 1x1. So I'm hoping that that's the case, because that's what I went with. Worst case scenario, this thing is a little bit extra slouchy on my ears. Okay, whatever. So I'm going with it. My only concern now is if it's going to mess with the cable pattern. So with hats like these, a lot of the time, the ribbing kind of evenly flows into the cables. And so you can kind of see how it evenly gets in there. Because I changed the ribbing pattern, it may make things look a little funky. But I guess we'll see. So I haven't worked on this in a couple days because these needle tips are so blunt. They're so blunt. And cabling, I recently taught myself how to cable without a cable needle, and it has changed my life. I love it. I love it not having to fiddle with that. I can cable to the front, I can cable to the back. I can purl cable, as it turns out. I can do it. I can manage it. But not with these. Not with these. It's too blunt. I need something a little bit pointier to be able to cable without a cable needle. Now, I have cable needles, but I hate the ones that I have. I just don't like them. They are, so there are two basic concepts for cable needles. There's the hooks, And so it's kind of longer on one side. It's kind of textured at the hump of it, and then it's a little bit shorter on the other end. I meant to bring one, but I forgot. Anyway, so there's that. Or there's the straights, and so it's straight and then it dips and then straight again. And it's double end, it's double pointed, so that you can knit from it as well as slip onto it, the way the cabling works. I don't have those, so if I'm going to be cabling, I either need to invest in some of those cable needles, and maybe I just need to go get some cheap plasticky ones. I meant to look for that today, but totally forgot. Or I need to switch to sharper needles. And I don't have a hat size in, say, Chiago's, which are the pointier style. Again, I meant to bring those, but I forgot. I don't have a hat size circular. Could I do it Magic Loop? I mean, theoretically, but I don't know if I feel like doing cables on Magic Loop. Not sure how I feel about that. So this is tabled for now until I either buck up and get needles or buck up and get a cable needle. So that's that. So that is my Zituni. I have plans to knit some other things. I gotta tell you guys, I've felt really, really guilty working on this Willy Wonka Palooza, and I haven't knit Anne's patterns. I haven't knit using Anne's yarn. Like, something not jiving quite right with me with that. So I have another skein of green-ish, and I'm going to try to knit one of Anne's cable hat patterns. I could always go for more hats. I could always use another hat, so it's a possibility. Okay, 2 last things, and then I swear we're done here. This is something that I started doing this year. So I'm going to need a bigger wine glass, I hope. But I'm taking my leftovers and balling them up into these cute little balls and putting them in the glass. Gosh, my color palette kind of matches, doesn't it? Anyway, so I didn't weigh this one, but this is the leftover from my Gothic lace cowl. And then this is the leftover from my Rochambeau cowlet. This is 10 grams. So I had 10 grams remaining. And maybe I'll find something to do with these in the future, or maybe not. So there's that. So hopefully I'll have a wine glass full of balls by the end of the year. And you're welcome. And yes, I'm okay with sacrificing a glass for this temporarily. Again, I'm going to have to get a bigger one, I hope. So there's that. Regarding my whips, I haven't been working on my whips, is what it is. Okay, last thing, and then I swear we're all finished. I have a single yarn purchase. That's not true, but that's the only one I'm showing you today. And that is this, Anne's yarn. So I bought this in February thinking that I would knit this into a Joji Locatelli cowl, but I couldn't ever find a main color. But this is a transitional skein set, and so they essentially flow into each other. This is Chawton Cottage, which is an Austen reference, Jane Austen reference. And this is on her Caradwen sock, which is 400 yards of a total 400 yards here of a 100% superwash merino. Isn't that pretty? I absolutely love that. Now, the cowl that I have in mind actually needs 5 mini skeins, or 5 short skeins, or 5 half skeins. And so I think that I'm going to stick my leftovers of Malabrigo sock lettuce, which was in my shawl that I knit last year. I think I'm going to stick that in here. What you guys think? Would that work? Or maybe I could go dark pink, light pink, this neutral with pink and green, then the lettuce, and then the dark green. Maybe that's the way to go. Thanks, guys, for your help. So that's the plan with that. I just have to find a background yarn. Okay, I think that's it. I think we've done enough. I thought about coming back and saying, but wait, if you stay for 10 more minutes, I can talk more. But no, I am done. My throat is dry. I'm starving. I started filming at about 12. It's now 3:30. I need to get to editing. This might not be uploaded until tomorrow. But stay tuned. I guess you'll know when I know. I have a lot of cleanup to do. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you all so very much for your continued support of me and my channel even when I was gone, for watching this whole thing, for contributing to FlossTube in a positive and family-like manner, for liking my videos, for commenting on my videos, for subscribing. I know I've been kind of away for a while, and so the fact that you are willing to come back despite my absence, it means a lot. It means a lot. This community is nothing without you guys. It is nothing without you. It doesn't exist without people watching, and so I'm really grateful. You are why I do this for so long, and why I have done this for so long. This August is my 5-year FlossTube anniversary. Yes, I started FlossTube 6 months after starting stitching. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for the journey. I'm grateful for all of you, and I'm grateful for all of the time spent. It's a good place to be. So let's keep it that way. And with that, y'all, I will see you next time. I hope next week, but please don't hold me to it. Goodness knows I can't necessarily be held to any of that. But we'll wait and see. With that, happy stitching, everybody, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.